Scotland's biggest teaching union, EIS General Secretary Andrea Bradley. Good morning, Andrea.
Good morning.
What is the current situation then on violence in Aberdeen schools?
So, Aberdeen EIS Local Association recently launched the results of a survey that they conducted amongst members in the city, and the results of that were pretty stark in terms of the extent to which teachers in Aberdeen schools were experiencing violent and aggressive distressed behaviour from pupils, resulting often in injury or psychological distress. And this was raised with the local authority. The initial response from the local authority was not collegiate in the way that we would have wished to see, but I'm pleased to say that in more recent weeks there has been more commitment demonstrated by Aberdeen City Council to work collaboratively and collegiately, certainly with the EIS and, as I understand it, the other support staff unions as well.
One of the things that Aberdeen Council says it's committed to doing is introducing a whistleblowing form for teachers who feel they're being discouraged from reporting violent incidents by pupils. What do you make of that policy?
So Aberdeen Local Association, I think, was a bit concerned about that. It seemed to bypass the channels of communication that are and negotiation that are established and that involve trade unions. And I think that their preference would much more strongly be that those channels continue to be used, or at the very least there be proper and adequate trade union involvement in any new scheme that was to be developed to improve the response rate, let's say, of Aberdeen City Council towards this type of incidents.
And what do you think that's happening why teachers feel they're being discouraged from reporting violent incidents?
Well, this is something that our members have reported nationally. There does seem to be pressure in some schools, some local authority areas, for teachers not to report what's happening in classrooms. To some extent, teachers have become a bit disillusioned by reporting because they report to us that nothing happens as a consequence of that, or certainly nothing meaningful happens as a consequence of that. So I think that while we do have to have an effective system of reporting in each local authority area, and teachers have to be encouraged to use it, what is vitally important is that there is follow-up on the basis of the reports that are inputted into whatever reporting mechanism is made available.
What else would you like to see done then when it comes to tackling classroom violence?
Key to this for us is resourcing. We think that a large sort of driver of the violent, aggressive, distressed behaviour that we're seeing in our classrooms is a lack of additional support needs provision. 37% of children in our classrooms now have a recognised additional need, and we have seen dwindling numbers of specialist additional support needs teachers across the same period that number of children with additional needs has been rising, and we haven't seen the increases in support assistance that would be commensurate with the now numbers, or the very large numbers of young people who do have those additional needs. And critically also, we've seen significant diminution of the capacity of the educational psychology service, speech and language therapists, English as an additional language support, mental health support. We've seen significant diminution in the capacity of those services to be able to support young people with additional needs. And we think that all of these factors are combining to result in the higher incidence of violence that we're seeing in our classrooms. And if we want to turn that around, we have to do something about all of that resourcing.
Where do you stand at the moment on rules to deal with pupils' use of smartphones in schools? Because later on in the programme, we're going to hear from a mum whose daughter was the victim of cyberbullying after she was attacked on a bus, and then the video of this was shared online.
There's absolutely no doubt, and again from survey work that we've done with our members, that mobile phones are a distraction, and they are at the root of more than just low-level behaviour issues in classrooms. Sometimes they're at the root of quite serious behaviour issues in classrooms. So they are a factor. They are a factor that that needs careful consideration by schools, by local authorities, and by the Scottish Government. But we don't believe that they're the only factor that is driving driving such, dysregulated behaviour in our classrooms. That said, I think that every school, informed by local authority policy, needs to have clear guidance for teachers, for young people, for parents about what is appropriate use of mobile phones in classrooms. And in large part, appropriate use should be determined by teacher professional judgment. We know that young people use mobile devices. We know that they use mobile devices to support their learning often, but that should be down to teacher judgment as to when those are used, what they're used for, and where they are being used inappropriately. There has to be scope for teachers and schools to intervene to protect the health and safety of young people and also to protect the health and safety of teachers and other school staff.
OK, thank you for joining us on the programme. That's Andrea Bradley, their General Secretary of the EIS Teaching Union.